first thing on our agenda is making sure we know how to use reading lists. So I'm going to switch over to my Bookshare account. And I've already logged into Bookshare, and this is what it's going to look like when you log into Bookshare as a teacher. You're going to get to my Bookshare. And just a reminder that if you ever find a book, so if I'm looking for a certain book, a recent book, I can assign that book directly to a student by selecting the Assign button. And I can select the student name, hit Assign, or what I often recommend for folks to do is actually create a reading list, and that is where I would go to my reading lists. I'm going to add a reading list. I can give it a title, a description, and then this is where I would go to the member and I would assign all the students that I want to have access to that reading list at one time. So think of this as kind of like Google Docs, where you grant permission to all the students you want to have access to this Google folder, this Google Doc, and whatever book you add to that reading list, all those students can have immediate access. So if I go back to my Bookshare and I see this book, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and I want to add it to a reading list, I would pick the reading list that I want to add it to, and then once I add it to that reading list, all those kids that I've assigned to that reading list have immediate access. And so that's kind of the quick, we talked about this last time, how to make your reading list and how to assign books. Now we're going to go into it from the student side to see what does it look like for them. So within our meeting notes, if you ever want to try out what it looks like for a student, I've given you individual demo account information that you can use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out of that account and I'm going to go into Bookshare now, and I'm logged in as this external demo. So this would be what the student would be logged in as, and that's where they would log in with their first initial, their last three of their last name, their student ID, and then they would type in the password that you set when you originally set up that account. So they would log in, and then they would go to my Bookshare. And it's just taking a moment to load here. And then they're going to see recent books and their reading lists. Now if they have an individual account, they'll be able to add books on their own, but if they're still using the institutional account, the school account, they're only going to be able to read books from the reading lists. So they would go to the reading list and they would find the one that you created for them, that you shared with them, and they'll have access to those books. So I'm going to go ahead and select on reading lists, and these are all the demos that have been created over time on this account. So I'm just going to select one of these, and with this demo account, it won't let you read books that are in copyright. So because it's a demo, it only lets you read books that are out of copyright. So for the student account, they would have a Read Now button on all of their books, but for this demo account, you only have access to books that are out of copyright. So we have the Secret Garden here, and we have Read Now. And so this is what the student could do if they want to read it directly within Google Chrome. So they're going to left click on Read Now, and directly within Google Chrome, the book is going to open up, and it's going to have a certain set of reading tools they can use, or they can use Read and Write for Google, and I'm going to demo what that looks like. So I already have it set on the night mode, so I'm going to switch it back. So here's the book. I have my navigation, so I'm going to navigate to chapter 1. And say I want to adjust the font. I can change a font to Open Dyslexic. I can change the font size, make it bigger, make it smaller. I think default it sets it at 12, but I typically like to make it a little bit larger to see, as I find that's a little bit difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that font again. You can choose black and white, Arabian Nights, which is white text on black background, Sands of Dune, give it more of a paper look, or this gradual color gradation that helps some kids report that it reduces the effects of some dyslexia of the words kind of swimming around on the page. Okay, so I'm going to do Sands of Dune. I can choose my speech rate. They don't give me a lot of options for voices. It's whatever's on the computer. So you pick your voice. And if I want to hear it read aloud.
Chapter I. There is no one left. When Mary Lennox was sent to Misselthwaite Manor to live with her uncle
So I don't know if you can hear that because it's coming in through my audio on my headset. But you saw it read with highlighting. It was a computer voice. I can choose to go black and white, whatever my default is. I can choose to make it go full screen. But the one thing I want to point out that if your students are signed up for Read and Write for Google, you can select that purple puzzle piece. I'm going to drag that around. And I can use the voice within Read and Write and the text highlighting.
Was sent to Misselthwaite Manor to live with her uncle. Everybody said she would.
So it'll read with highlighting. It uses the text help voice. It also has the ability to, if I come up to a word that I'm not sure of, I can select that word. I can use the picture dictionary. Drag that around here. I can use the Read and Write dictionary to have it read aloud.
Adjective. Having a lot.
I can use my screen masking, although I find that sometimes can be a little buggy. Now what I have noticed when I use the reader within Bookshare is that if I try to do any kind of major text annotations, it does get a little, it does have errors. So I recommend you can use the dictionary, the picture dictionary, or the text dictionary, but if you're really trying to annotate the text using the built-in reader, it tends to have some mistakes. So that is one option for the students to be able to listen to it, be able to see it with the highlighting, and to be able to look up any words they might not know. So now I'm going to show you another option within Bookshare. So we selected the Read Now button. What if we selected Download? And so if your students ever download a book, you always want to make sure that they select EPUB, because that's the format that Read and Write for Google will recognize is this EPUB format. So I would select EPUB. I'm going to select Download. Select Download again. It's in progress, and it usually takes 10-20 seconds for it to say it's ready, it's available. You can see now it's available. I can select on it, and it's going to ask me where do I want to save it. I need to save it to my computer. So I'm going to save it to my downloads. You see down here in the left corner, it is Chrome is downloading that file. And so now what I have to do is I have to go into my Google Drive to upload that. So it takes a little bit more, it takes some more steps to do the download option. And the main reason you might want to do the download option is if it's a book the student uses all the time, and if you wanted to do some more advanced text annotations, or if the student needed to do some more advanced text annotations than what we were doing in the Read Now function. So I already created a shared Bookshare folder within my Google Drive. I go to New, and I'm going to upload that file. Seems like let's try that again. New file upload. It's going to ask me to find that file that I just downloaded to my computer. So I'm going to do that Secret Garden demo. This usually just takes a second. There it is. And so now watch what happens when I open it up now. It's going to open up in the Read and Write PDF viewer, or EPUB viewer. It's going to ask what account I want to associate it with. Always make sure when you're using Read and Write that you associate it with your school account or the student school account. And here you go. It's in a different format. I still have my table of contents. You See, the text is very small. I can go through and I can adjust the text size. I can adjust the font. I can put in bookmarks. Now with this, I can use what I do is I highlight a word, and as long as that little the study skills mode is with the checked off, I can highlight, look up, use my picture dictionary, all the tools that I can use in Read and Write for Google. So this allows me to highlight certain parts of the book. And just for the sake of time here, let's try that again. And then if I want, I can pull those highlights. I can collect those highlights, and it's going to pull it into a new Google Doc. So both will read aloud with highlighting. Both have adjustable voice speed. Both formats, the Read Now and the Google Drive option, allow you to use the dictionary, but the main difference of opening it up within Read and Write for Google is if you really plan on going deep with using some of your study tools. If you're not going to, then I recommend sticking to just the Read Now option. Now what I want to show you in the last few minutes I have with you, and here's where you can see it extracted those notes from that document or from that book, and it put it into a Google Doc for me. And it tells me what the file was, and even links back to that document later. So that can be a handy tool if you are doing some more advanced work with that, marking the text. You do have the ability also to write notes on the top of it. Let me try that here. There we go. I can type annotations within the text. So there's a teacher, I can put notes, or the student could write notes to themselves. And once they close out of this file, it will automatically save to their Google Drive. So I've shown you two ways. The Read Now function, student logs in, finds their book through the reading list. They can hit Read Now, or if they go through the steps to download that EPUB format to their computer, then upload it to their Google Drive, they then have access to more advanced study tools here. For the last thing I'm going to try, and this is new technology here, hopefully you can see my iPad on my document camera, and I'm going to show you an app that's free that I really encourage kids at home and families to use. It's called Dolphin Easy Reader, and it's linked within the I'm going to go to my books here. The link to this app is within the notes. It's free, and the nice thing is the students can actually download this, and they can link their Bookshare account directly within the app. They put in their login information, they can go to their reading lists, and they can download books at home that they could then use at school. And so they don't need Wi-Fi at school to use it, or if they're on a bus, or if they're at home and they don't want to be tied to a laptop, this gives them a way to read on a tablet. And Dolphin Reader is available for both Apple and Android devices. And once they have it on there, I'm going to go to my books. I downloaded a book earlier, The Adventures of Huck Finn. It will read aloud with highlighting, which is we like. It allows me to adjust my font size, my text size, my fonts, my line spacing, even the spacing between letters. I can adjust my text color, my sentence color, my highlighting, so it has a lot of options there. It also has the option to choose different voices. And even though this app is free, I do believe you can pay $5 for some upgraded voices, but you'll see I have lots of different options here, and I know it's a little blurry on the screen, but just know that there are a lot of options for the kids to try. And this, to me, really is the way. If we're going to see kids to be successful with using some of these accessible books, it's recognizing that reading it on a laptop is not always the best option. And so if we can encourage families to take advantage of some of these free resources and to maximize the use of their Bookshare accounts, I think that we're going to have better outcomes. And by having the kids have more choices of their voices and more ownership and kind of how they access these books, I think we can sell this Bookshare more effectively than we have in the past. So this is the one app that I recommend. There are other paid apps that people can get, but this is a great starter app for folks. I do hope as the school year goes on to maybe have some iPads, some government iPads with this app on here for certain LI programs to trial. So that is really the three methods that I would recommend for kids to use Bookshare. Is one, a personal iPad, download it, reading it by downloading it to their Google Drive, or using the Read Now function within Bookshare. I'm going to make sure I didn't forget anything in my notes, my agenda items. I think that's it. So I have a couple minutes left, and so I'm going to open up. You can go ahead and write comments. I'm going to check the comments now, and I'm going to see if, or you can unmute yourself if you have any questions. So Kevin asked, are the creation of Bookshare accounts created through me? And yes, we talked about that in our first training, but your LI folks, your special ed folks are the first line of account creators at the school level, and I work with the LI folks to get them accounts set up. So yes, it starts with me, but at the school level, your special education folks do have the rights to add students. Are there any other questions as we wrap up our, what day is it? Wednesday. As we wrap up our Wednesday. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, but I will stay on for another few minutes if anybody has any questions. Thank you all for your time today. I know it's very valuable, and I do hope you find these little trainings helpful.